Now, we can also see down here that we have begun to get a score because we now have some numbers in the system. So let's go ahead and look over this. We have a weighted average price here, and we have our resistance. We subtract those, and the difference is 20. Because we're a seller, of course, we would like to sell for more. So now we're doing well. That's good. We divide that by our resistance to end up with a fraction, and that's a 0.01. And then we times that by 100 to get back to above a decimal, so 1.45. Now, what does this mean? It doesn't really mean anything. It means some groups could have more, some groups could have less. If I had sold the price to be lower than 1400, maybe I sold it just to be 1380, just my resistance, then right now my score would be 0 so far. Up to here would be 0 because I didn't do anything above my resistance. Plus flex points. So now we're at 2.45. And then we're going to times importance. So you can see importance is a big one. If we had a 2 importance, we would now be right over about 5. But instead we only have 1 importance, so we're going to stay at 2.45. And then times inventory sold. So how much of the inventory did I sell? Well, actually I only sold a little bit because I only put out there, how many was it? 500 units, I think. I'll look up here. 500 units. That's not many compared to my total. It's just 3% of the total. And then it comes out to having a score. So I think the score gets rounded up, no decimals. So 1. Well, 1 seems like a small number, but hey, we've only just begun. We only made 1 deal. Now, one thing to pay attention to is you do have a limited number of deals you can make. So let me see, how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spaces for deals. So that's a little bit limited. You need to pay attention to that. Now, we are a seller, so we do have one more special case for a seller. So let's go ahead and look at some of the special rules now for the seller. If you're a seller, you have a production situation, right? How much can your factory produce? And what we did remember was we took the beginning number, which were the base units, and we had a mod units. So our factory is able to produce 15,600 units in this example. Production maximum, that means what's the maximum you can produce? Okay, the maximum is equal to the mod units. Where's the mod units? Right up here. 15,600. 15,600. Let me zoom in a little bit, get a better picture of that, right? There we go. What if you want to produce more? Let's say you find a buyer and the buyer is giving you a really good deal. You have a great opportunity, or maybe you want to help a buyer because you have a good relationship or whatever. So you want to produce more. So you want to overproduce. Can you overproduce? Well, no, you cannot unless you spend something. And what do you spend? You spend flex points. So how does this work? For every 10% over your maximum production, which is your mod units, you must spend a flex point. So 1 flex point to increase production 10%. This will be calculated automatically down in this area here when you input your deal sheet. So for example, we can see here in this area overproduction price. So if you overproduce, it'll automatically calculate here and remove a flex point for every 10% you go over. You have a maximum of 7 deals and 1 flex point for every 10% increase. Now, what does the 10% mean? It means any number between 0 and 10%. So if you overproduce 11%, how much will that cost you? 2 flex points, because you've gone over 20% basically. They come in these big chunks. So flex points are kind of set, and you need to pay attention to that. Here's a short summary just to remind you very quickly of how the deals work and how you benefit or lose something, how you gain or lose. Going lower gains flex points. Going higher spends flex points, in this case because we're the seller. So going lower, in this case, like for example, lower price, lower speed, or here higher speed, lower speed, these kinds of things. Canceling a deal will have a cost if both sides do not agree. So we can cancel the deal. Well, how can we cancel? Well, we come right back up to the top and we push the cancel button here, and we're going to get another form to cancel the deal. But before we do that, let's look at our counterpart, because we've just looked at the group number 1 example, and that example was a seller.